All right, welcome back, deep divers. Buckle your seatbelts and prepare to transform your expectations because today we are plunging headfirst into a debate that, well, it captivated generations, didn't it? Ignited countless playground arguments and probably emptied more than a few allowances since the 80s. GoBots versus
Oh,
Transformers.
yeah. This is a big one.
These two iconic toy lines weren't just battling for shelf space, They were vying for our hearts, our imaginations, and ultimately our Saturday mornings.
Oh, I love it. And honestly, for a certain generation, this isn't just like a pop culture debate. It's foundational, almost philosophical, you could say. Wars have been fought over less serious stuff, I assure you.
Haha, probably true.
We're going to unpack the toys, the animated shows, the characters that became, our imaginary friends, the deep lore that sometimes surprised us, and the lasting fandoms that persist to this day.
Definitely.
And yes, you can absolutely expect some good-natured, playful shade to be thrown at each other's favorite robots, of course, throughout this deep dive.
Oh, it's on. And since we're setting the stage for a glorious robot rumble, I might as well declare my allegiance up front. I'm proudly standing with the cosmic legends, the Autobots and Decepticons, Team Transformers.
Okay, bold stance.
Even though, I gotta admit, my childhood Bumblebee is still missing half his heat-sensitive stickers and one door.
Yeah.
He's absolutely still rolling strong in spirit. He's a survivor, a symbol of enduring excellence.
Well then, allow me to counter. With my unwavering loyalty to the mighty underdogs, the die-cast rebels, Team GoBots.
The Rebels, okay.
My personal sidekill, bless his metallic heart, he might be chipped, and his wheels a bit wobbly from countless battles against, well, let's just say, less structurally sound opponents. But you can bet he's still ready to lead a renegade charge. That's real durability for you.
See, even our own cherished childhood relics kind of embody the core of this debate, right?
Exactly.
But despite our playful allegiances, rest assured, we both possess, well, probably a slightly worrying encyclopedic knowledge of both franchises.
Oh, for sure. We've spent far too many hours studying instruction manuals and dissecting cartoon plot holes. Way too many hours.
Guilty.
Absolutely. And we want you, our listener, to pick a side early on. Are you planting your flag with the cosmic epic of Transformers with their, galaxy-sized drama?
Mm-hmm.
Or are you a proud member of the GoBots camp celebrating their die-cast rebels and sort of mechanical purity? After this deep dive, jump onto our social media channels. Tell us your side of the story. We're eager to hear your allegiance and maybe, just maybe, your most cherished robot memories.
Yeah, definitely share those.
Yeah.
Because truly, if you grew up transforming robots on your bedroom floor, making those distinctive pew-pew sounds with your mouth,
Oh, the sounds, yes.
and staging multi-day battles that spill from the carpet to the kitchen table, you are absolutely in the right place. I recall one legendary, 3-day-long battle royale. My brother and I staged it between my Optimus Prime and, well, a rather forlorn, broken toaster.
A toaster? No way.
Yeah. I, with much ingenuity, had converted it into a makeshift Decepticon grunt. It was epic. The toaster lost, naturally.
Oh, the poor toaster. That's classic. And that's exactly it, isn't it? This isn't just about plastic toys. It was serious business for anyone who lived through it.
Totally.
So go ahead and grab your favorite nostalgic snack, maybe some Surge soda or a packet of Dunkaroos if you can find them.
Oh, Dunkaroos.
Pull out that dusty box of old toys from the attic if you still have them, and get ready. We are about to roll out, or perhaps GoBot and ride out into the ultimate nostalgia showdown.
All right, let's dive into the genesis of these mechanical marvels where it all truly began. The toys themselves. These weren't just objects, were they? They were the recipients of all our hard-earned lunch money, the top items on every birthday wish list.
Every single one.
And frankly, they were our first instructors in understanding complex diagrams before we even mastered cursive. The toy aisle was a battleground, wasn't it?
It absolutely was.
Yeah.
I vividly remember those war zones at Toys R Us. You'd have kids debating in the middle of the aisle with the intensity of, ancient philosophers. One kid, probably clutching a liter one, would be shouting, "No, dude, my GoBots feel real. That die-cast makes them heavy, like a car." And another would counter, "Who cares about weight? My Optimus Prime has a trailer. It's a base and a vehicle." The debates were legendary. Seriously.
Oh, the trailer argument. Classic.
Yeah.
And what's truly fascinating when we look at the origins is that Transformers, though they exploded onto the scene in 1984, they really revolutionized the toy game with a strategic and comprehensive approach. Hasbro being the marketing powerhouse they were.
Okay.
They licensed 2 incredibly innovative toy lines from Takara in Japan. Diaclone and microchange.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for those unfamiliar, Diaclone gave us those amazing transforming mechs, often piloted by, like, scaled human figures, focusing on larger, more complex transformations. Microchange, on the other hand, introduced the clever concept of everyday items transforming into robots, think handguns, miniature cassette players.
Okay, but wait. Let's not gloss over the fact that GoBots got there first.
Okay, fair point.
They launched in 1983, a full year before Transformers. They were born from Bandai's incredibly popular Machine Robo line in Japan, right? And then Tonka, a major American toy company, masterfully rebranded them as GoBots. Mighty robots, mighty vehicles.
How's that, Tonka?
They were truly the pioneers of the transforming robot craze in the West. Before there was more than meets the eye, there was mighty robots, mighty vehicles,
Gotcha.
and those die-cast parts, you could practically use them as paperweights, or, as some of us maybe did in the heat of a backyard battle, as surprisingly effective projectiles. They had a tangible heft, a premium feel that plastic couldn't quite replicate at the time.
A paperweight. I think you're missing the point of aspiration, my friend.
Yeah.
Transformers weren't just toys. They were like mechanical Rubik's cubes with layers of emotional depth.
Okay.
That complexity transformation wasn't a flaw. It was a badge of honor, a challenge. I remember spending what felt like an entire Saturday with my brother trying to figure out how to transform Blitzwing, the triple changer.
Oh, Blitzwing. Yeah, tricky.
Without snapping an arm off. We'd consult the fold-out instructions like they were sacred scrolls. By the time you successfully clicked every piece into place, you felt like you'd solved the riddle of the Sphinx. A true master of mechanical engineering. It fostered a sense of accomplishment you just didn't quite get with simpler transformations.
And meanwhile, my GoBots were ready to roll in like 30 seconds flat. No tears, no broken parts, no existential dread over a misplaced tab or a joint that refused to budge. Just pure, unadulterated mechanical joy, ready for immediate play.
Okay.
Plus, let's talk about accessibility. GoBots were significantly more affordable, weren't they? Made them a much more democratic choice for parents. Not everyone could drop the equivalent of 20 or 30 bucks on a single large Autobot back then when a GoBot might be half that price. They were the perfect entry point.
That's a fair point on parental wallets, I'll give you that. But Transformers had that undeniable wow factor that, kind of justified the price point. The packaging alone. It was a work of art. Dynamic illustrations, vivid color.
Start was good, yeah.
And that incredible heat-sensitive faction symbol you had to rub like a genie lamp to reveal if it was Autobot red or Decepticon purple.
The rub signs, yes.
I remember spending entire afternoons in the backyard pretending I was a Decepticon spy, covertly checking faction symbols with my thumb, utterly convinced it was the most high-tech espionage a child could perform. It was world-building before you even opened the box.
While Transformers were busy trying to convince us their characters needed, like secret tattoos, GoBots kept it simple, Guardians versus Renegades. You knew who was who right out of the box, no magic thumb scanner required. And you could actually play without the constant nagging existential dread of losing a tiny combiner foot.
Oh, the combiner parts.
Watching your entire super robot plan collapse like a sad Jenga tower. My combiners, like Puzzler or Monstrous, they were straightforward and sturdy. They didn't need therapy after one play session, unlike some of the more, shall we say, fragile, multi-part Transformers combiners.
Oh, believe me, that dread was real. I once lost an aerial bot foot, and I had to perform emergency surgery, replacing it with a slightly ill-fitting Lego piece.
Lego surgery.
My Superior ended up looking like he had a permanent peg leg, but I'll tell you what, he still fought valiantly.
But that's also where Transformers truly shone, the immense variety. You had cars, jets, insects, fearsome dinosaurs.
The Dinobots were cool?
And yes, even cassette tapes that magically transformed into predatory birds or robotic panthers. The creativity was boundless. Think of Soundwave.
Soundwave was amazing, yeah. He transformed into a micro-cassette player, and then you could insert tiny cassettes that transformed into Ravage or Laserbeak. It was like nesting dolls for robot nerds. This created an entire intricate ecosystem where your toys interacted like a living society, with clear factions, sub-factions, specialized roles.
True, Soundwave was a marvel of miniaturization, I won't deny that. But GoBots had toy-accurate, realistic vehicle modes. Leader 1 truly looked like an actual F-15 jet. Psykill transformed into a convincing motorcycle. They didn't try to pass off a microcassette recorder as a common household object you'd see just lying around in 1984.
Hey. Microcassette recorders were cutting edge?
GoBots embraced the realism of their alt modes.
Well, I mean, come on. Who didn't want a microcassette recorder in 1984?
Yeah.
We all thought it was the absolute peak of personal electronics. And speaking of cutting edge, let's not forget the Super GoBots.
Yeah.
Those deluxe, larger-scale GoBots proved that even GoBots knew that sometimes bigger could be better, even if they still aimed for that grounded realism.
Oh, absolutely. Super GoBots were visually impressive, like the heavy metal album covers of the toy world, totally. But they firmly stuck to the same mechanical purity. Real vehicles, realistic lines, no weird alien designs. While Transformers had jets that were shaped like, well, let's just call them space Doritos in their alt modes.
Base Doritos. Okay, now you've done it. I'm telling Starscream you said that.
Yeah.
I can almost hear his indignant squawk from here.
Uh-huh. Bring it on.
But, okay, let's talk materials, because that really impacted the play experience. Early Transformers also used die-cast parts and rubber tires, giving them a solid feel.
They did, initially.
However, later lines gradually shifted to more advanced plastic builds, and this allowed for more intricate detail, greater articulation, dynamic posing.
Yeah.
You could actually get Transformers into convincing kung fu battle stances, performing gravity-defying kicks and punches.
Give me die-cast all the way. You could feel that satisfying weight in your hand. When you held a classic GoBot, you knew you were holding something that could survive the apocalypse and probably several sibling wrestling matches. It's like the difference between a flimsy plastic fork and a weighty silver heirloom spoon. GoBots were essentially brick walls with wheels. And let's be honest, how many Transformers lost a limb after just 2 months of aggressive play? Those often fragile ball joints couldn't handle the backyard wrestling matches or the dramatic drops from the top bunk.
Guilty as charged. I had a Sunstreaker who became a one-armed wanderer after a particularly gnarly sandbox war.
Yeah.
Battlestars.
See,
But this shift to plastic allowed for more intricate sculpts and the ability to create those dynamic kung fu battle poses, which was an amazing leap forward in playability, even if it sometimes meant a battle scar or two for the figures themselves. Those battle scars, after all, made the heroes more relatable, didn't they?
meanwhile, my GoBots, more often than not, rolled away unscathed, and if something did go wrong, they were generally much easier to reassemble. The transformations were intuitive. You didn't need a PhD in microengineering to convert them from vehicle to robot and back again. There was a directness to their design that respected a child's desire to just play.
I won't lie, some Transformers instructions felt like IKEA manuals written by alien poets, with diagrams that defied three-dimensional logic.
Right.
But that struggle, that intellectual challenge, was part of the charm. You truly felt like an engineer or maybe a secret agent deciphering a code every time you finally clicked everything into place and saw the robot emerge perfectly.
Or like a broken human when you had a leftover piece and no idea where it belonged.
Okay, that happened too.
But let's also talk about playsets, because these truly expanded the universe of play. Transformers had incredibly elaborate playsets like the Autobot Ark, which could transform from a spaceship to a headquarters, or the Decepticon headquarters, Tripticon, which was a city, a battle station, and a dinosaur.
Tripticon was awesome.
And then there was Omega Supreme, who was both a massive robot and a sprawling rocket base, offering entire worlds to build and explore within your own living room.
GoBots had their own bases, of course, like the command center and the thruster, and your very own giant mechanical monster Zod.
Zod.
While perhaps not as flashy or sprawling as Omega Supreme, they were practical, sturdy, and less prone to collapsing during intense living room battles. They focused on direct, robust play rather than intricate, multi-level structures.
Those living room battles, I can still hear my mom yelling at us to stop crashing those robots into the cat.
The poor cat.
And you know, that's part of why this debate and these toys still matter so much. These weren't just objects. They were our childhood companions, our storytelling tools, and little windows into entirely different universes.
Absolutely. Whether you were a GoBot kid, a Transformer kid, or, like many of us, a delightful mix of both, you were building epic sagas right there on your bedroom floor. You learned patience, creativity, and definitely how to negotiate with your siblings for the best team-ups in a battle.
And sometimes how to survive after accidentally stepping on one barefoot in the dark. The ultimate test of bravery.
Oh, the pain.
But hey, that's what made it all worth it. The battle scars on both the toys and occasionally on us. And with that, we close the first crucial chapter of our showdown, the toys themselves, the foundation, the first love, the tangible magic.
Yeah.
Next up, we hit the screen, where these sparks truly begin to fly.
Oh, buckle up, folks, because this next segment is going to be explosive.
All right, deep divers. Now we leave the tactile world of the toy aisle and plunge headfirst into the glowing realm of the TV screen, the true battle arena, where these robots truly cemented their legacies, both good and, well, let's say, emotionally devastating for some.
Or traumatizing, depending on which side of the great Optimus Prime death debate you fell on as a child. Because if you were a kid in the 80s, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Still too soon for some of us, even after all these decades.
Slight chuckle. True, true. But seriously, Transformers animated series, affectionately known as G1 for Generation 1 to fans, it was far more than just a cartoon, wasn't it?
Oh, way more.
It was a sprawling sci-fi saga, a cosmic epic meticulously disguised as Saturday morning fun. We were introduced to a millennia-long Cybertronian civil war, the mystical matrix of leadership, and the endlessly frustrating yet undeniably compelling treachery of Starscream.
Always Starscream.
It was, as some have rightly called it, Shakespeare with gears. Characters like Optimus Prime weren't static action figures. They had profound, resonant arcs, culminating, as you so aptly put it, in his heart-wrenching death in the Transformers. The movie in 1986.
Brutal.
That was a truly shocking moment that led to what felt like playground support groups the very next day. And then there was Megatron's terrifying transformation into Galvatron, and Starscream's constant ambitious backstabbing it all created incredibly rich, deep, and often morally complex storytelling that went far beyond mere toy commercials.
Meanwhile, GoBots' Challenge of the GoBots, produced by Hanna-Barbera, was in many ways simpler yet.
Yeah, undeniably charming. It ran for a solid 65 episodes of Guardians vs. Renegades. Leader 1 and Psykill embodied that classic, clear-cut, good versus evil dynamic that, for many of us, felt like an animated comfort blanket. You could just settle in and know what you were getting.
Exactly. You could absolutely just jump into a random episode over your cereal without needing a flowchart to understand who was betraying whom this week. Or worrying about a multi-episode arc where half your favorite characters get scrapped without warning. The GoBots focused on teamwork, straightforward heroic actions in simpler narratives, a quality that sometimes gets overlooked.
True.
They even subtly explored some surprisingly deeper themes like identity and the existential question of what it means to lose your original organic self. The lore posited that the GoBots were originally Go-beings, whose minds were transferred into robot bodies by the enigmatic Last Engineer to escape a catastrophic asteroid impact.
Right.
The Last Engineer. That was kind of dark.
That's some surprisingly horror-level transhumanist lore right there, decades before that concept became trendy in science fiction.
I'll absolutely give you that GoBots did have that surprisingly tragic and philosophical origin story. Very cool. But Transformers took that seed of lore and cultivated it into a sprawling, intricate, cosmic mythology. You had the foundational Primus versus Unicron backstory Primus, the benevolent creator god of order, and Unicron, the malevolent, planet-eating chaos god of entropy.
Yeah, the big cosmic stuff.
That epic duality provided a truly heavy mythological backdrop. Then there's the matrix of leadership, not just a glowing doodad, but a symbol of wisdom, sacrifice, and the immense burden of leadership. And Vector Sigma, a supercomputer on Cybertron that functions almost like a robotic deity, granting life and consciousness, or sparks, to new Transformers. These concepts gave the mechanical characters true souls, hopes, fears, and dreams, making them so much more than mere machines.
Yeah, but then they also had a robot that turned into a microscope, and I'm not sure how cosmic that is. Was Perceptor observing the entropy?
Perceptor. Don't you dare disrespect the science bot. He was the Bill Nye of Cybertron, providing much-needed analytical power for the Autobots.
Come on.
Yeah, all right. And while you were contemplating microscopes, the Transformers, the movie was an emotional nuke dropped on a generation. That moment, Optimus died. I swear there were actual playground support groups formed the next day, kids looking like they'd just watched Old Yeller but with semi-trucks.
Oh, it's rough.
It was a truly shocking, bold move, killing off major characters to make way for new toy lines, a true corporate heartbreak for kids. But that movie also gave us Unicron, voiced by none other than Orson Welles in his final iconic role. That's a cinematic legend right there.
Wells as Unicron, yeah, that was huge.
And Hot Rod's reluctant coming-of-age arc, becoming Rodimus Prime. It was a powerful, if at times controversial, narrative of legacy and imposter syndrome. That film also introduced an utterly iconic synth soundtrack, with Stan Bush's The Touch serving as an eternal hype track for anyone who hears it. Tell me you don't get goosebumps.
Chuckles. I get goosebumps, then immediate tears. That film hit hard. Meanwhile, GoBots' show, Challenge of the GoBots, also boasted solid voice talent. Did you know Peter Cullen, the legendary voice of Optimus Prime?
Oh, yeah.
Actually voiced a few characters in GoBots before his iconic Transformers role. And Frank Welker, the incredible voice of Megatron, also lent his pipes to GoBots characters.
No way. Really?
Yeah. So if you listen closely, it's like a hidden crossover multiverse before multiverses were even a cool concept. A bit scandalous, perhaps, to have Optimus's voice actor dabble with the competition?
A scandalous betrayal at the voice booth, indeed.
Wow.
But what about the animation quality itself? GoBots, being a Hanna-Barbera production with animation handled by Wang Film Productions, had that classic, often limited Hanna-Barbera style. Same backgrounds getting reused, plenty of animation cycles, simpler shading, minimal lip syncing.
Standard 80s stuff, yeah.
It was bright and fun, certainly, but Transformers, with significant animation contributions from Toei Animation and occasional work from Acom,
Right, Toei did a lot.
often brought more dynamic action scenes, more expressive character moments, and more detailed transformation sequences. Toei, especially, produced incredibly fluid, dynamic, and stylized animation that truly elevated the mecha detail and utilized richer color palettes. While Acom was famously inconsistent with errors,
Oh, the errors.
even those became part of the charm for fans later.
I will absolutely give Transformers credit for those dramatic, anime-inspired transformation shots they made each conversion feel like a mini-movie within the episode. Totally. But GoBots kept it straightforward. Transform, fight, win, repeat. It felt like comfort food, like a reliable TV dinner that always delivered.
TV dinner, I like that.
And their sound effects, though dated now, were incredibly stylistic and distinct. That classic boing whiz zap sound design really hits the nostalgia button hard. They had their own unique sonic signature.
Transformers episodes could indeed be chaotic at times, riddled with the animation errors galore. Wrong colors on characters, characters mysteriously popping in and out of scenes, even entire characters changing appearance between frames, you name it.
Part of the fun now, though, right?
But it's true. Those errors have now become an endearing part of the charm. Fans actively hunt for them like Easter eggs, making it a shared communal experience.
Exactly. But GoBots episodes felt like reliable, self-contained mini-missions. Leader 1 leading a straightforward attack, Psykill scheming something petty and predictably evil. It was classic villainy at its finest, without the constant need for deeper analysis.
And let's not forget the human characters, who played a significant role in grounding the Transformers narrative. We had Spike Witwicky, his dad Sparkplug, and Carly names only an 80s cartoon could love, truly.
Oh, Spike and Sparkplug.
Yeah. They weren't just sidekicks, they were emotional anchors, providing a crucial link to humanity and giving the Autobots a tangible reason to fight for Earth. GoBots, on the other hand, had fewer prominent human sidekicks, making it a more purely robot-centric conflict.
Which some would argue made it purer. Humans were often liabilities, always needing rescue, and frankly, a bit whiny sometimes.
Maybe a little.
GoBots focused on the robot civil war, which for many was the main draw. It avoided unnecessary romantic subplots or overly moralistic lessons, keeping the focus squarely on the transforming action.
That's a fair point about purity, but the drama in Transformers was so incredibly addictive. The constant betrayals, the shifting friendships, the agonizing leadership crises. You had entire episodes dedicated to philosophical debates about freedom versus order, self-sacrifice, and the nature of sentience. It was truly thought-provoking, even for a kid.
Meanwhile, GoBots episodes felt like unpretentious, pure Saturday morning popcorn fun. Sometimes that's genuinely all you need, a simple, clear narrative without layers of existential angst.
You know what? That's absolutely true. When you look at their animation legacy, Transformers truly set the stage for countless spin-offs and reboots. Beast Wars, Armada, Prime, War for Cybertron. They just kept evolving, reinventing themselves for new generations while retaining core elements.
GoBots didn't get as many reboots, true, but their spirit lives on. Some dedicated fans even argue that without GoBots paving the way, proving there was a viable market for transforming robots in the US.
Interesting point.
Transformers might not have blown up as fast or as big. GoBots arguably walked so Transformers could roll out.
Wow, so you're suggesting GoBots were the unheralded trailblazers, the humble pioneers.
Exactly. They tested the waters, proved the concept, and then the bigger ship arrived. And let's not forget the fascinating postscript. After Hasbro acquired Tonka in 1991, some GoBots characters were actually folded into Transformers lore.
Right, the acquisition.
Leader 1 appeared in comics, and even as Megatron's Minicon in Transformers Armada, one of those smaller, sentient robot partners that could combine with larger Transformers for extra power. It's like a weird, slightly awkward family reunion where no one wants to admit they're related.
Haha. And Psykill popped up as cameos and Easter eggs in various Transformers series, too. Deep cuts for the true fans, indeed. If that doesn't prove the lasting impact and cultural footprint of these shows, even for the perceived loser in the sales battle, I don't know what does. They get eternal life as a mythological footnote, a testament to their original influence.
And that's precisely why we're here today. Not just to argue about who is better, but to celebrate how these robots shaped pop culture, inspired imagination, and taught us about loyalty, bravery, and even the heartbreak of clearance bin markdowns.
Amen to that. From explosive cinematic finales to serial-fueled Saturday mornings, these cartoons were far more than just glorified toy commercials. They were foundational stories, moral fables, and epic adventures for a generation. So whether you cried over Optimus or cheered when Psykill hatched another predictably petty but entertaining plan, you were part of something truly big, something transforming.
And on that high note, folks, we're revving up for our next segment. A deep dive into the characters themselves. Who were these mechanical legends, truly? Were they one-dimensional heroes and villains, or did they possess surprising depths? Buckle up. Don't go anywhere. The sparks are about to fly. All right, deep divers, we've dissected the toys that fueled our childhoods and journeyed through the animated sagas that captivated our imaginations. But now it's time to talk about the real heart and soul of these franchises. The characters. Because let's be real, the reason we kept tuning in, begging our parents for more toys, and staging those epic battles wasn't just the transforming gimmick, it was these distinct, often surprisingly complex mechanical personalities.
Exactly. The toys were the vessels, the shows were the narratives, but it was the characters that gave these franchises their true soul. They were our heroes, our villains, and sometimes, yeah, even our comic relief. Let's start with the heavy hitters, the quintessential leaders. Optimus Prime versus Leader 1.
Leader 1 from the GoBots universe. He was a straight-up, no-nonsense leader. He was an F-15 jet, embodying pure aerial power with an unshakable moral compass. There was absolutely no interest in monologuing before fights or, debating the existential nature of his existence.
Wow.
He just got the job done swiftly and efficiently. He led by unwavering example, always focusing on the mission, truly embodying that classic knight in shining armor vibe. He was dependable, always there, a steady hand.
No monologuing. Then what on Cybertron did he even do with all that screen time? Optimus Prime, on the other hand, was a poet warrior. His speeches weren't just battle cries, they were motivational TED Talks on wheels.
Okay, the speeches were good.
Freedom is the right of all sentient beings. Can you honestly tell me you don't get chills hearing that? Optimus wasn't a static ideal. He struggled with the immense burdens of leadership. He doubted himself. He felt the weight of every casualty. His self-sacrifice and death in the movie was a monumental, tear-jerking moment that led to entire playgrounds mourning. He wasn't just a leader. He was a moral compass who showed us that even heroes could fall, and that true strength often lay in selflessness. His return symbolized cyclical leadership, the enduring nature of good.
I get it. That moment with Optimus was certainly impactful, no doubt. But GoBots characters, particularly Psykill, brought their own distinct dramatic flair. He wasn't just bad for the sake of bad in a simplistic way. He was genuinely manipulative, cunning, and always scheming.
Oh yeah, Psykill was sneaky.
You never quite knew what petty yet effective betrayal or grand scheme he would pull next. He had this incredible anarchic energy, almost a punk rocker vibe, in his disdain for order and his relentless focus on seizing power, often through chaotic means. It was refreshing in its singular, chaotic focus, unlike some villains who flip-flopped allegiances constantly.
He's like that coworker who always volunteers to lead the project, but really just wants to take all the credit and throw everyone else under the bus when things go wrong. That's a perfect analogy for Psykill.
Exactly. And then we had Scooter, the unassuming, geeky tech specialist. He wasn't your typical big, tough warrior. He was smaller, often timid, but incredibly clever, quirky, and universally relatable. Scooter was basically the embodiment of every kid who felt small but still wanted to make a big impact with their brains, not just their brawn. He provided valuable comic relief and often ingenious mechanical solutions.
I'll give you that. Scooter definitely had more personality than some of the early nameless Transformers minibots, for sure. But then you look at the breadth and depth of the Transformers cast. And you see characters like Bumblebee, that classic small underdog energy with a heart of gold.
Bumblebee is popular, yeah.
He was everyone's best friend, a relatable, enthusiastic scout. And he effectively bridged the gap between the mighty Autobots and us human characters in a way no one else truly did. Then there's Megatron, the embodiment of ruthless domination, driven by a thirst for power that eventually led to his terrifying transformation into Galvatron under Unicron's influence, a potent symbol of destructive rebirth and corrupted power.
Galvatron was intense.
And Starscream, the ultimate backstabber, the perpetually treacherous second-in-command who epitomized ambition without honor, always seeking to usurp leadership. He even returned as a ghost in later seasons, truly symbolizing the lingering, insatiable nature of ambition.
True. But GoBots also featured standout characters like Crasher, a fierce, no-nonsense female villain who wasn't just a token character. She smashed through stereotypes and literal walls with her menacing cackle and unstoppable aggressive energy.
Crasher was cool, yeah.
She was terrifying and awesome in equal measure, truly paving the way for more complex and powerful female characters in action cartoons before others even considered it.
Props to Crasher, truly. She was breaking ground before RC even showed up properly in the Transformer universe. But Transformers had an entire rogues gallery of compelling characters. Soundwave, the cold, loyal spy and master of surveillance, with his distinctive synthesized voice.
Soundwave superior.
Grimlock, the brutish Dinobot who, despite his arrogance, eventually grew a brain cell or two and provided immense comic relief and unexpected heroism. Each character was like a different archetype, plucked from mythology or Shakespeare, pushing the boundaries into moral gray zones. You had Shockwave with his cold, calculating logic, a fascinating contrast to Megatron's hot-headed aggression.
Okay, Starscream was definitely a drama queen. The dude probably practiced his evil laugh in front of a mirror every single night, polishing his sniveling apologies.
Well, all right.
But you have to admit, GoBots' relative simplicity often made their characters easier to grasp and connect with immediately. You knew exactly who they were and what they stood for. They had clear, consistent motives right out of the gate, making it easy to root for the good guys and boo the bad guys without needing a psychology degree.
True, Transformers characters could get pretty convoluted, especially when you got into the later concepts like headmasters, where human-sized alien beings literally became the heads of larger robots and pretenders robots encased in organic-looking shells. Even as a kid, I was like, wait, why do robots need human shells again? This is
A
confusing.
little weird, yeah.
But sometimes, those weird convolutions made Transformers more fascinating, allowing for deeper exploration of identity crises and power struggles. Megatron didn't just want power for the sake of it. He was a disillusioned revolutionary gone terribly wrong. These dynamic pacings, shifting alliances, and constant betrayals made the series incredibly addictive, like a high-stakes soap opera with metal fists.
Meanwhile, Psycho was like that classic punk rocker who doesn't even necessarily want the crown. He just wants to cause chaos, disrupt the status quo, and maybe kick a few sandcastles over. And there's something refreshingly direct about that, honestly. His motivations were clear, power for power's sake, and a good dose of mischief.
That's true. Psykill had a very singular, anarchic energy that made him memorable and distinct. But then you also had more tragic, layered figures in Transformers, like Dinobot, especially in later series like Beast Wars, who wrestled deeply with honor, loyalty, and self-sacrifice, undergoing profound character development.
Beast Wars got deep, yeah.
The philosophical questions explored identity crises, the weight of leadership, corruption of power, made the overall narrative so much richer and more resonant.
But a lot of that depth came later, particularly outside of the original G1 cartoon. In G1, many of the characters were indeed pretty straightforward. So I'll still argue that GoBots actually did a great job creating characters with clear motives right out of the gate, especially in their animated series. They had consistency in their faction ethos and almost wholesome clarity, with fewer convoluted arcs or constant bewildering betrayals. You knew where everyone stood.
Fair enough. The consistency was certainly there. But you have to appreciate the evolution of the Transformers characters. You didn't get many GoBots arcs that approached the emotional resonance of Optimus Prime, passing the matrix of leadership to Rodimus Prime, and Rodimus grappling with crippling imposter syndrome and the immense weight of that legacy.
That was a big arc, yeah.
That was heavy stuff for a cartoon designed to sell toys.
Yeah.
Even smaller characters got moments to truly shine and develop. Like when Blaster and Soundwave had that epic sound-for-sound DJ battle come on, that was pure genius. or when Perceptor, the initially nerdy microscope guy, evolved into a heroic and invaluable strategist.
And yet the GoBots retained that pure, uncomplicated charm. No matter what, they stuck to their faction's ethos. You didn't have the constant dizzying betrayals or characters switching sides every other episode, leaving you scratching your head. It was almost wholesome in its unwavering consistency, providing a reliable narrative anchor.
But wasn't that part of the fun, though? The unpredictable dynamics, the alliances that shifted, the betrayals that left us gasping, wondering who was truly on whose side.
Maybe.
And of course, the voice actors who became truly iconic.
Right.
Peter Cullen as Optimus Prime. That voice is basically comfort food for anyone who grew up with these shows. It embodies strength, nobility, and wisdom. And Frank Welker as Megatron in Soundwave. A legend, perfectly capturing raw power and cunning.
And as we've noted, Cullen actually voiced some GoBots characters too before his Optimus Prime fame, lending his gravitas to the competition. See? Even your boy Optimus did a stint with the GoBots. It's a scandalous betrayal at the voice booth, if you ask me.
Uh-huh. Still can't believe that.
But seriously, both series had legendary voice talent. These incredible voice actors truly brought these metal shells to life, giving them personality and making them more than just commercial bait.
At the end of the day, these characters, whether from Cybertron or Gobotron, they taught us fundamental lessons about loyalty, bravery, the bitter sting of betrayal, the long road to redemption, and the enduring power of friendship. Whether you are quoting Optimus's profound speeches on the playground or proudly pretending to roll out as Leader One, you were absorbing values and life lessons in between every robot punch and laser blast.
Exactly. They weren't just toys or TV characters. They became our imaginary friends, our role models, our heroes. They filled our worlds with adventure and meaning. And maybe, just maybe, through their struggles and triumphs, they taught us a little bit about ourselves too. They reflected our own aspirations and fears back at us.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Yeah. Now let's take this philosophical energy and expand it even further into the realm of deep lore and cosmic philosophy, where things truly get existential and the metal meets the metaphysical.
Oh, here we go. Prepare for some serious, deep robot thoughts. Incoming.
All right, deep divers, buckle up once again because we're about to take a truly wild and cosmic dive into the whirlpool of robot philosophy and deep lore. This is where the gleaming metal of these machines truly meets the metaphysical, and we unpack the profound ideas hidden beneath the surface of what were ostensibly children's toys and cartoons.
Absolutely, because, let's be honest, we didn't just love these bots for their sleek vehicle modes or their epic battles. It was the sprawling, often surprisingly complex stories behind them that truly turned them into legends in our minds. GoBots, in particular, had a surprisingly dark and existentially resonant foundation for a kids' show, even if we didn't fully grasp it at the time.
Exactly. I mean, take the Transformers Matrix of Leadership. It wasn't just a simple glowing doodad or like a power boost. It was a profound symbol. It embodied wisdom, the immense sacrifice required for true leadership, and the weighty responsibility passed down from one prime to the next.
The Matrix was key.
It's akin to mythical talismans like King Arthur's Excalibur, but with more laser beams and the fate of entire galaxies resting within its glowing core. Its pivotal role in defeating the colossal, planet-eating Unicron cemented its divine-like narrative status and mythological importance within the Transformers universe. It was the very heart of Autobot virtue and purpose.
Meanwhile, the GoBots had this incredibly poignant, almost tragic origin story that subtly explored transhumanism decades before it was a mainstream concept in science fiction. They started as these organic beings, the Go beings, whose very minds and consciousnesses were forcibly transferred into robot bodies by an enigmatic entity known as the Last Engineer.
Right, to survive the asteroid.
All as a desperate measure to survive a catastrophic asteroid strike on their home planet. Imagine waking up one day and realizing you're a motorcycle or a jet now, your original form gone. That's an existential crisis of epic proportions, isn't it?
Totally mind-bending for a kid's show.
It subtly yet powerfully raised questions about identity. What truly makes us us? Is it the physical body or the consciousness within? Are we still ourselves without our original form? It was profound, even if most kids just thought, cool, robot.
That's the ultimate I think, therefore I am, a motorbike situation, as you put it. But seriously, that origin story truly raises profound philosophical questions. Transformers, on the other hand, expanded their lore into a far more sprawling, cosmic mythology. You had the fundamental duality of Primus versus Unicron.
The big gods.
Primus, the benevolent, godlike creator of order and the very spark of life, versus Unicron, the malevolent, planet-eating chaos god of entropy and destruction. This epic cosmic war between creation and annihilation provided an incredibly heavy and expansive mythological backdrop, truly elevating the stakes beyond mere robot skirmishes.
Right. GoBots basically asked us to consider what it means to shed your physical form and still retain your essence, decades before it was trendy in serious sci-fi circles. And yet, we barely scratched the surface of those themes as kids, mostly just enjoying the cool transformations.
But the Unicron storyline was straight out of cosmic horror, wasn't it? A sentient robot planet that devours other worlds. That's like Galactus on pure robot steroids, a truly terrifying force of nature.
Terrifying is right.
And when you think about Megatron's terrifying transformation into Galvatron under Unicron's malevolent influence, it's a classic Faustian bargain. Megatron, in his desperation for more power, sacrifices his very soul, his identity, to a dark, cosmic entity. He comes back, utterly unhinged, consumed by madness.
Yeah, Galvatron was nuts.
You could, and many have, written entire college theses on that transformation alone. It delves deep into the corruption of power, the profound loss of identity, and the brutal price of rebirth under malevolent forces. It's so inherently Shakespearean in its tragedy and moral decay.
Meanwhile, GoBots, while exploring that deep origin, largely stayed focused on moral clarity within its narrative simplicity. Guardians were good, renegades were bad, a clear dichotomy. But if you look deeper, you could discern subtle hints of more complex shades. Even Psykill, for all his villainy, had moments of unexpected doubt or a surprising, albeit fleeting, moral dilemma.
Interesting.
And while the Guardians were generally pure heroes, there were moments that hinted that even within their ranks, power could potentially corrupt, even in the simplest of narratives. It wasn't always black and white.
It's true. That nuance was there if you looked for it. And even though GoBots didn't have as many layers as Transformers, that very simplicity sometimes made their philosophical questions more approachable for younger audiences. Like, what does loyalty truly mean if your entire existence has been forcibly transformed? Do you still owe allegiance to your past organic self or to your new mechanical tribe?
Good question.
And then there's Vector Sigma, that supercomputer on Cybertron. It functions almost like a robot deity, handing out sparks, the very essence of life and consciousness, like they were divine party favors.
Sparks, yeah.
That concept of the spark wasn't just a plot device. It gave these mechanical characters souls. You suddenly perceived them as more than just machines. They had hopes, fears, dreams, and a distinct personality.
Whoa, we're truly getting deep here, exploring the very essence of robot sentience. But that's the true beauty of these stories, isn't it? They cleverly sneak these massive, complex philosophical ideas into what seems, on the surface, like mere kids' programming.
Totally.
Transformers went big with cosmic wars, the clash of fundamental forces. GoBots, in its own way, ask more intimate, existential questions about identity and survival, about being trapped in a new form. Both provided so much intellectual fodder for us to unconsciously chew on.
And then there's the incredible community aspect. The way lore spread and deepened, not just through the cartoons and comics, but through fan discussions, conventions, and eventually the internet forums. It transformed into a living mythology that evolved as fans interacted with it, debating every detail and theory.
The fandom is huge.
Transformers especially had that incredible expansion through the Marvel Comics, then the IDW reboots, which gave us incredibly complex, mature storylines, and even the Japanese exclusive continuities like Headmasters and Master Force that further expanded the Matrix mythology.
Yeah.
The lore just kept branching out like a vast, multidimensional tree. And even within the Decepticons, there were nuanced internal dynamics. Shockwave's cold, calculated logic versus Megatron's hot-headed aggression, Starscream's treacherous ambition versus Soundwave's unyielding loyalty. It mirrored complex human political hierarchies.
While Transformers lore became this sprawling epic, GoBots remains somewhat smaller and more contained. But that tighter, more focused lore fostered a truly cult-like intimacy among its fans. They bonded over a shared underdog mythology, a narrative focused on survival and rebellion against the overwhelming forces of the renegades, rather than constantly expanding universes. There was a purity to that focused narrative.
It's almost like comparing Star Wars to Firefly, isn't it?
Yeah.
One is sprawling and galaxy-spanning with endless side stories. The other is tighter, more personal, more contained.
Yeah, good analogy.
There's absolutely room for both. And perhaps that's the profound point of this entire deep dive. We didn't have to choose one worldview or another. We got to experience both, and through them, we unconsciously learned different life lessons. Transformers taught us about the weight of sacrifice, the nature of destiny, and the importance of inner strength. GoBots, in their unique way, reminded us about staying true to ourselves despite radical, forced change and the power of simple, unwavering loyalty.
At the end of the day, whether they were battling for Cybertron's freedom or simply trying to survive another asteroid strike, both universes gave us these incredible mechanical mirrors to reflect on what it means to be alive, to lead, to fail spectacularly, and to fight for something far bigger than ourselves. Couldn't put it better myself. And on that profoundly philosophical high note, shall we shift gears and talk about what all this means for their real-world legacy and cultural impact today?
Yes, it's time to see which fandoms built multimedia empires and which ones built fiercely loyal underground fortresses of die-hard devotion. We've covered the tangible magic of the toys, the captivating adventures on the screen, the deeply personal character journeys, and even the cosmic philosophical lore. But now, as we bring this epic deep dive to a close, let's talk about the real-world legacy. Who truly conquered the cultural battlefield and who perhaps earned that coveted status as the beloved punk rock underdog.
Absolutely. GoBots, as we've established, actually launched first in 1983, briefly capturing the zeitgeist and the attention of kids. But they were eventually quickly eclipsed and unfortunately overshadowed by Hasbro's colossal multimedia push for Transformers.
Yeah, Hasbro went all in.
Yet in a strange twist of fate, their later absorption into Transformers canon, after Hasbro acquired Tonka in 1991, actually granted them a unique kind of underground cult status among a fiercely loyal fan base.
It's truly wild when you look at it. Transformers didn't just conquer toy aisles. They became an undeniable global multimedia empire. We're talking about extensive comic book runs, from the original Marvel US and UK series to the incredibly rich, often darker narratives from IDW Publishing.
IDW stuff was great.
Then there are the 9 animated TV series, including fan favorites like Beast Wars, Transformers Prime, and the recent War for Cybertron trilogy. And let's not forget the 6 live-action feature films which, love them or hate them, collectively pulled in over $5.29 billion globally.
Billion. Wow.
From Michael Bay's explosive blockbusters like Dark of the Moon, which grossed over $1.1 billion, to the more character-focused Bumblebee movie, Transformers dominated summer seasons and merchandising, with a truly global strategy that even included Chinese actors and settings in films like Age of Extinction. They are a household name, synonymous with transforming robots.
Right. And it's like how some audiophiles proudly declare, I only listen to vinyl. GoBots fans are fiercely loyal, often celebrating the pure, unadulterated pleasure of their die-cast construction, their mechanical authenticity, and the irrefutable fact that they came first.
That came first argument, yeah.
There's a certain punk rock ethos and anti-establishment coolness to that loyalty. You'll find countless Reddit threads and online forums where dedicated fans passionately defend GoBots as the realists in the transforming robot world. They'll argue that the simpler faction structure, the robust builds, and the more authentic, realistic vehicle designs make them purer, more grounded, and in a way, more honest than Transformers' often flashy, fantastical space epics.
And the Transformers fandom itself, it's not just a consumer base, it's a living, breathing community. From dedicated conventions like BotCon to elaborate cosplay meetups to endless online forums dissecting every nuanced character arc, every continuity error, every piece of lore. It's like a living organism that simply refuses to die, and frankly, we wouldn't have it any other way.
The dedication is intense.
The cultural iconography also cannot be ignored. Optimus Prime, for instance, transcended his toy origins to become a global icon for noble leadership, sacrifice, and unwavering integrity. You see his distinct face on T-shirts, lunchboxes, movie posters across the world. He's a modern mythic hero for an entire generation.
He really is.
The phrase robots in disguise itself has become a global catchphrase. And let's not forget, Transformers really pioneered the toy-to-blockbuster transition, influencing countless other franchises like the Lego Movie.
And let's not forget the collector's market. Vintage GoBots, especially the larger, more intricate Super GoBots and the quirky Rock Lords, actually command impressive prices on the collector's market today.
Oh yeah, Rock Lords. Those were weird.
There's this undeniable satisfaction among fans when they unearth a rare, pristine example. It's like discovering a hidden gem in a dusty old record store, a truly valuable piece of overlooked history. Meanwhile, GoBots, in a somewhat ironic twist, gave us Psykill memes and that infamous GoBot as an insult trope.
That's just a GoBot.
People still colloquially say, oh, that's just a GoBot version, when referring to something perceived as a cheap knockoff or a less than stellar imitation. It might sting a little for fans, but it also, perhaps inadvertently, preserved the brand and the broader cultural consciousness through mockery.
Exactly. Even in derision, they live on, demonstrating a strange form of cultural immortality. And then there's the incredible and frankly mind-bending IDW GoBots miniseries by Tom Scioli, released in 2018.
Oh, the Scioli series.
Yes, it was a psychedelic fever dream that completely reimagined the GoBots, turning them into bizarre, philosophical anti-heroes. That series gave them a whole new dimension, both literally and figuratively, showcasing the untapped potential of the brand.
Scioli's take was absolutely bonkers in the best possible way. It took everything fans loved about GoBots, the existential weirdness, the mechanical purity, the grounded designs, and cranked it to 11, turning it into a truly unique, subversive narrative. If you ever want to read a comic that feels like someone might have put acid in your cereal, that's absolutely the one.
Couldn't agree more. And speaking of new dimensions, Transformers have constantly reinvented themselves while still honoring their roots. From Beast Wars, introducing animal forms and complex CGI animation, to the War for Cybertron trilogy exploring rich, pre-Earth Cybertronian politics, they've consistently found ways to stay fresh and relevant for new generations.
Keeping it going.
All while retaining core elements that resonate with longtime fans. Peter Cullen, remarkably, still voices Optimus Prime, which is like having your childhood comfort blanket come to life and deliver heroic monologues.
That continuity is amazing.
Even the live-action movies, no matter how explosive or occasionally cheesy, somehow always find a way to include a line or a moment that hits us right in the feels.
It's true. Whether you love or hate the Bay movies, seeing Optimus ride a robotic dinosaur, or truly struggle with a difficult decision, yeah, it's an unforgettable experience, a fascinating fever dream sometimes.
At the end of the day, Transformers became the undeniable pop culture juggernaut, the sprawling epic, while GoBots remained that scrappy, fiercely loyal band playing in the basement, loved by those in the know. Both have carved out indelible places in the hearts of millions of fans, and that, truly, is a beautiful thing.
Exactly. Whether you were screaming, "Roll out" in the playground, or proudly pretending to be Leader One leading your forces into battle, these toys and the stories that accompanied them gave us entire worlds to escape to. They gave us heroes to admire, villains to despise, and the ultimate sandbox for our imaginations to run wild.
And beyond the plastic and the metal, they gave us something even more enduring: each other. Entire communities formed around these shared passions, fostering lifelong friendships and, of course, endless passionate debates just like this one. It's more than just plastic and metal. It's a shared language of adventure, a testament to the power of collective imagination.
Amen to that. All right, listeners, now it's truly time for you to join the battle. Who do you stand with? The cosmic epic of Transformers, with their complex lore and multimedia dominance. Or the die-cast rebels, the GoBots, with their pioneering spirit and cult classic status.
Yeah, let us know.
Vote on our social media channels, tell us your cherished childhood stories about these robots, and please don't forget to send us photos of your old collections. We want to see those battle scars, those custom repairs, those cherished relics.
And that, dear listeners, truly wraps up our ultimate showdown between these two transforming titans. Whether you're staunchly Team GoBots or unequivocally Team Transformers, what truly matters most is the immense joy, the countless hours of play, and the profound stories these characters and franchises brought into our lives. They were so much more than mere toys. They were tiny pieces of philosophy, the foundations of enduring friendships, and the sparks of fierce, boundless imagination.
Absolutely. These incredible robots, in their own unique ways, taught us how to build worlds, how to fight for what we believe in, and how to find our tribe in the most unexpected places, like a dusty toy bin in the attic or a late-night cartoon marathon. They might have been made of metal and plastic, but the feelings and inspiration they ignited within us, those were, and remain, all too human.
Exactly. And as we grow older, we truly realize that these debates aren't really about which toy line was objectively better or more successful. They're about celebrating our shared memories, the creative battles we waged on living room carpets, and the timeless heroes we carried with us into adulthood. They're a vibrant thread in the tapestry of our collective childhood.
So wherever you stand in this great debate, thank you for being part of this incredible community, for sharing your passion, your stories, your treasured collections, and your unwavering enthusiasm. Keep these legends alive and continue to inspire new generations. And remember, the greatest adventures are always the ones we imagine together.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Now go dig out your old robots. Make those satisfying transformation noises.
Yes, the noises.
Maybe even share a story or two with a new generation. Let's keep the spark alive, shall we?
And seriously, don't forget to connect with us, drop us a line on socials, tell us who you side with, and send us pictures of your epic toy battles. We want to keep this debate going long after the mics turn off.
Next week, we're diving into another truly iconic 80s debate. Did G.I. Joe truly earn those coveted Saturday morning slots, or should they have just stayed in the comics? You won't want to miss it.
Thank you for spending this nostalgic journey with us. Until next time, transform and roll out.
Or GoBot and ride out.
Stay awesome. Keep imagining.
And always remember, there's more than meets the eye. Bye, everyone.